brand new day, brand new episode of Tax Matters, and I am still Olumuyiwa Matuluku. The program, of course, is Tax Matters. Today, we're going to be looking at taxpayers' rights. What are your rights? What do you deserve? How should you expect to be served when you visit any of the offices of the Federal Inland Revenue Service? And to look at this issue is Mrs Angel Fadahunsi, who is the head of the SERVICOM Unit at the Federal Revenue Service and also doubles as the National Taxpayer Advocate. Mrs Fadahunsi, welcome to Tax Matters.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, you are wearing two caps. What does your work entail?
Okay. As the head of SERVICOM in FIRS, I'm expected to manage service delivery. I'm expected to ensure that the service compact with Nigerians in relation to tax matters is complied with, and also to ensure that all our taxpayers receive the services that we are promised to deliver to them. I also do not limit my dealings to taxpayers. I also deal with our stakeholders. So you have people like contractors and service providers to FIRS, various legislators, the members of the executive that require our services at any point in time. So there are also people that I have to deal with and ensure that they get good service from the FIRS at any point in time. As a National Taxpayer Advocate, my role is limited to taxpayers. And what I'm expected to do is to advocate on behalf of taxpayers and to ensure that taxpayers' rights are not breached. It's also important to let taxpayers even know their rights. So one of the rules, one of the aspects of that role requires me to let taxpayers know these are your rights, and this is what you need to do if your rights are not being breached at any point in time. So,
what are the rights of the taxpayer?
Very interesting. Principally, the first one is you have the right to be served well. So it's very important when you go to one of our tax offices that you get good service, polite service, on-time service, and you get what you went there for. Principal right that most taxpayers are very much aware of is their right to get their tax clearance certificate within 2 weeks, and that's clearly stated in the law. And it's one of the rights that most people come forward. That's what brings most people to the tax office, and that's one of the areas where there could possibly be a breach.
Is your function restricted to the headquarters in Abuja, or are you present in the FRS locations across the country?
Okay, so the SERVICOM desk has a representative in every field office across the country. In all our field offices across the country, when you walk into any of our offices, what you will find is a taxpayer services desk. At that desk, we have one of our people there, one of the staff there is a representative of the SERVICOM office in that office. So if you have issues there, your first complaint should be laid at that desk. If it's not addressed at that desk, that's when you begin to escalate it to the various other levels that we have.
Okay. So for certain services that require human interface, you spoke about tax clearance certificate. There's also the issue of registering as a taxpayer in the first place, TIN. And then, of course, withholding tax credit note, which is like raw cash in the hands of the taxpayer. Do you have standard requirements for acquiring those things, or do they differ from office to office? Because we've had instances where people complain that they ask them for different things from office to office.
For you to get a TIN number, there is a standard requirement. So for you to come in, what we expect you to do is to come into our office with your incorporation documents, your memo and articles of incorporation, your certificate of incorporation that shows your RC number and the date of incorporation. We need that information. It shows us the name of the company, the date of incorporation, and the RC number. We also need to know what line of business you're into, because that helps us to segment and place you in the right office or the right database. But we also do have a general financial services requirement, which not just FIRS, even the banks now require. You need to prove that you are who you are, or that you are based where you are. So we do ask for utility bills for companies to show, to prove to us that yes, the address you're giving us is actually where you are located. In some instances, some of our offices will do a verification of that address, and so in which case they may not ask you for a utility bill.
So how long should it ordinarily take me to register for TIN?
We do have a standard for it. Our standard is 24 hours.
Do I sometimes need to use money to speed up things?
TIN is free. If anybody requests funds for any service in any FIRS office, please let us know. TIN, I'll say that again, tax identification number is free. You do not have to pay any fees to anybody, and if anybody requests money from you for issuance of TIN, you need to please report that as soon as possible.
Okay, we'll come back to that issue of reporting. I mean, that's a whole issue on its own. We're talking about timelines, about benchmarks. TIN, you say 24 hours, right?
Yes.
What about tax clearance certificate? You spoke about 2 weeks earlier. Yes. That's in the law.
That's in the law.
Do you practice that? Do you keep to it?
As much as possible, I believe our field offices do try to issue tax clearance certificates within 2 weeks. However, we do struggle with informing taxpayers what they need to bring in before they can get the tax clearance certificate. So typically, there are certain things you need to have filed your returns. Those returns should have been examined. A lot of times, people come and want the tax clearance the same day. Your documents, your what do you call it, statements of your statement of results, and all those things must be examined before a tax clearance certificate is issued. And so, as much as possible, we do try to make the 2-week mark. Our officers have been advised to notify taxpayers as soon as possible when they notice anything, maybe a document that is missing or a discrepancy in the accounts that they wish to confirm. Within the 2 weeks, as much as possible, they do try to reach out to the taxpayers to say, look, could you please come and clarify XYZ, or could you bring in this additional document to help us fasten the process? As much as possible, we do that. Sometimes there are delays, and you ask a taxpayer to bring a document, it takes him some time to get that document. So that 2-week time frame sometimes lapses, sometimes not due to any fault of FIRS.
Do you make use of GSM, of internet, and all that in communicating so that you can keep within the 2 weeks? Do you do that?
We do a number of those. We do get in touch with our taxpayers via telephone, via text. We make telephone calls, we do send text. We do send some emails too. But there is definitely room for improvement. I'm aware that in coming months, we will have a complete list of office email addresses, an updated list, because we have an updated list that's been prepared, placed on our website. We'll have telephone numbers for each office, which currently we haven't had those, but we do have those coming up now. Updated telephone numbers for each office. And we do also have that information on our website. We do write letters. We still write letters to our taxpayers, which are hand-delivered and acknowledged. So we do our best. And in the near future, when the integrated tax automation system is fully launched, a lot of things like automated emails and alerts to advise taxpayers of important issues. Those are features of that new upgrade that will be taking place very soon.
Oga, don't come. Tax man, now you sit down. How long you thought so you go take bring the tax clearance certificate for me?
Oga, once you give me the money, the tax clearance certificate go ready now.
Now?
Yes, Oga.
Oga, wait, make I bring the money.
Wait. Agent for Federal Inland Revenue Service? This one a Wururu person. Come for here. Guy, forget all these Wururu people. Go any Federal Inland Revenue Service office where they near you. Go collect the original tax clearance certificate. To know the original tax clearance certificate, the tax certificate must get FIRS watermark. It go get signature on top of the FIRS seal, and the name of the tax office where they on top of the certificate must they correct. No print, no give, no even collect fake tax clearance certificate. FIRS don't want say anybody we then catch with fake tax clearance certificate, now jail straight.
For more information, visit www.firs.gov.ng or any FIRS office close to you. FIRS, it pays to pay your tax.
The third one is withholding tax.
Yes.
You do know that withholding tax credit note is like raw cash in the hands of the taxpayer.
Yes.
But we find that people have problems getting that due credit note, when taxes have been deducted from payments due to them. What are you doing at the FIRS, or what is your unit, the SERVICOM unit, doing to clean up the mess?
Okay. Withholding tax credit notes are a very sensitive issue. They're as good as cash, really.
Yeah.
And so you do not want them falling into the wrong hands. So we do our best to keep them secure. Sometimes perhaps we are too good at keeping them secure. We keep them so well that taxpayers don't always get hold of them. But what we try to do now, what SERVICOM encourages the field officers to do is, where you have known addresses, it's to get in touch with the taxpayers and then dispatch them to them as much as possible and have someone acknowledge receipt of those. Going forward, the plan is for the system, when the system upgrade takes place, is for this to be automatically credited to taxpayers' accounts. Yes, so that's part of the integrated tax automation system upgrade that will take place, and so there won't be any need to. It will just be an automatic credit, and it's one of the reasons why we're pushing so hard for everybody to have their tax identification number, so that with that number we can just make a credit to you right away.
But in interim, how do we ensure that you ease the pain of the taxpayer who has withholding tax credit not due to him?
What we do, and what we do advise taxpayers is, within 2 weeks of the withholding tax credit having been removed, debited from you, do check back with the agent that debited or that withheld that tax credit from you. Keep checking with them to ask, has my tax credit note come in? If they don't respond to you, we do advise and let them tell you where their office is, which is their own FIRS office. And you can come to the FIRS office to also check to see, is my withholding tax credit note ready? So that's something we do advise our taxpayers to do.
We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about avenues open to the taxpayer to seek redress, to complain, and to get problems solved. Don't go away.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, waiting be this.
The deduction now for withholding tax.
Withholding guinea. Look, if you not pay me my correct money today, hey, Munu get me half for.
But madam, should be your company paying income tax.
Yes, that one na enough load for me to carry. Why in I won't come add join am again?
You see, withholding tax now advance payment for income tax. So when you do some kind job like contract, we go remove small from them when we won't pay you.
I don't go contract am up. I bet tell me another.
No. We must pay the money to FIRS within 30 days, and they go give us withholding tax credit note to take show say you don't pay part of your income tax in advance.
So
now to help make the money where you go pay at the end of the year small.
So this withholding tax something, it be like part payment of where.
Exactly, madam.
I beg you, give me my check.
Remember, come collect your credit note.
Withholding tax, now for we own good. FIRS, it pays to pay your tax.
Coming on board, we are going to have ITAS, which is Integrated Tax Administrative System. It will be developed in stages and from various offices. But it's going to be such that everything about tax will be integrated. If everybody has fully paid his taxes, he sits down in his office, he presses his button, and he downloads his TCC. You download your TCC from your office. You make your payments, you download your receipt. Or you don't need to download, you pay your withholding tax. The thing goes everywhere. It's settled. You see it, that you are compliant. We are getting there. Then there is GIFMIS, which is Government Integrated Finance Management Information System. It goes across all government departments. What does it tell us? If you do any work with any government department, there is a network already in operation, which started 2 months ago, called Remitter. With Remitter, when a government department pays you, your money goes straight to Central Bank. Your withholding tax and VAT goes straight to Central Bank. And we are informed, and your account is credited with us. Once ITAX gets on stream and it is linked to ITAX, your tax account is credited. So anytime you are reading your returns, it is already there to set off for you. So you do not even need to claim. It has started with about 145 federal government MDAs. And in Nigeria, we have about 356 federal government MDAs. So it's going to make life simpler for the taxpayer and for us. And it's going to make it easier for you to comply.
Welcome back. The program is still Tax Matters, and we're talking about taxpayers' rights. And our guest is Mrs Angel Fadahunsi, the head of the SERVICOM Unit at the FIRS, as well as the National Taxpayer Advocate. Madam, when the taxpayer has a problem, any problem whatsoever, we must say that we appreciate the fact that the FIRS does not have touts all over the place as we have in some other tax offices. I don't want to talk about them. But still, if I come into an FIRS office and I think I'm not being well served, you spoke about polite service, timely service, and all that, what do I do?
If you're a taxpayer and you come into a tax office, any of our field offices anywhere around the nation, and you're not happy with what the service you receive, your first complaint should be laid at the taxpayer services desk in that office immediately. We recommend that you lay that complaint. If your issue is not addressed there and then, you could request to see the tax controller of that office. Sometimes the controller is not available or is not, around. In that case, you have the option of, most of our offices, we have a Perspex board where we have the SERVICOM contact details. So we have our telephone numbers, we have our email addresses listed there, and you could always get in touch with us directly. In every tax office falls within a region. There are regional controllers who are expected to oversee the activities of those officers, or the tax controllers in his region. You also have the option of contacting the regional controllers, or regional coordinators, sorry. So those are the options you have. We do advise taxpayers at every point in time to complain if you're not happy. A lot of times we do not get the complaints, and so the bad habits and the bad attitudes continue. But if you consistently report what you observe or what you go through, then we're in a position to make a difference.
Okay. How do you process complaints? I mean, if complaints come to you at the SERVICOM desk, how do you process those complaints? What do you do? Do you get back to clients?
Oh, yes.
To your customers?
At the SERVICOM desk, we have 3 direct lines that come to us. I'll just give you those numbers now: 081-5949-0000, and those numbers go up to 2. So 00 to 2. We also have email addresses. We have servicom@firs.gov.ng. We have complaints at firs.gov.ng. We also have enquiries at firs.gov.ng. You can send a text to us, you can send an email to us, you can also write letters to us through our headquarters address. When we receive these complaints, what we do is we go through the complaints, contact the office to get their own side of the story. We sometimes have to contact the taxpayer to get more details. So please, which office did you go to? What time? What day was this? Who did you speak to? Do you remember? Did you by any chance get the name of the officer? What were the issues? What happened? So we contact sometimes both sides of the equation, so both the taxpayer and our field office, to get the issue. Do as much as we can to resolve the issue immediately. Sometimes we discover that it's an issue that it's not just that office, so it's a general problem. So we now try to resolve or to follow up to find out, is it a system issue? Is it a process issue? Who do we need to talk to? So, this process is not helping taxpayers. These are the implications, and this is how it's hurting the system and hurting taxpayers. So we work on that data, that complaint. So it goes beyond, even after we've addressed your issue, we take the data. So we receive on an average, the SERVICOM desk takes about, in a month, we receive close to 120 emails and telephone calls so far. We also receive letters too. So we do take a look at all those, do some analysis to say, okay, what are the common issues? Where are we having problems from a particular part of the country, for instance, or on a particular issue? So if we look at our data and we say, oh, why do we have so many calls from this region on this particular issue? Then we can now have a discussion with probably, let's say, the regional controller or the tax controllers in that region to say, look, we've observed this in the last 30 days. Is there something responsible for this? How can we address it? How can we help you? If we need to take it to management, we do. A lot of times we report directly to the executive chairman. Our reports are presented to management on a monthly and a quarterly basis to detail of all these complaints that come. They're all provided to management to say, this is what taxpayers are complaining about, or stakeholders, and this is what we have done. This is what we require management to do. So that's how we treat our feedback and complaints.
In addition to the Taxpayer Services Desk at every tax office, where, like you told us earlier, there's a SERVICOM personnel. Do you also go out to engage the taxpayers? Do you go onto the field?
Yes, we do. As a routine matter, whenever our colleagues are holding events with taxpayers, we join them and provide some education on taxpayer rights. Okay. In addition to that, we do try to have special programs. We try to have advertisements in the newspapers and on other media to reach taxpayers, to provide information to them.
When you take complaints back to the authorities, or you confront the tax offices concerned with particular matters, how do they react to the SERVICOM unit? What's their reaction?
Well, we're all colleagues, principally, and yes, sometimes there's when you provide feedback in any process, people are sometimes offended by the feedback. But what we do try to point out to our colleagues at all points in time is that we work together. We're all part of the same organization, and our goal is not to victimize, but to make things better. It's important for us to ensure that the taxpayer gets served and is served well. And our perspective is different from that of the field officer. He has a role to collect tax, he has a target to collect, he has to make sure that the laws are followed. On the other hand, we are looking at things from the perspective of the taxpayer. When I walk into an office, am I served well? So we do have those different perspectives. However, the two must merge for us to achieve the vision.
That's true, that's true. In fact, we witnessed you addressing your colleagues at the regional operational meeting of the Lagos region at the City Hall in Lagos on the 6th of June.
What am I saying? Colleagues, when my team comes to visit you, it's not to attack you, it's to work with you. Our perspective is different. We look at you from the taxpayer's perspective. Some of you are not happy that I send Officer 1 and 2 to you. Sometimes it's deliberate. I don't want to send someone who knows your process, because to the taxpayer, your process is irrelevant. It's the result he wants. It's deliberate. I want them to be ignorant of your process, but I want them to go there and be sure that the taxpayer gets good service. We need to change our attitude. Thank you very much.
We are coasting home. We want to know what words of advice you have for your stakeholders, the taxpayers, the suppliers, contractors, everybody in the chain. What's your word of advice?
Okay, pretty much I would like to say that at FIRS we have an integrated service charter. It's available on our website, and it will also be available as a hard copy document in the next few months. And that document states out the services we provide and the standards to which you should be held accountable. It also provides contact details for you to lay your complaints, and also the process of laying a complaint. We ask you to hold us accountable. Hold any of our staff accountable to those service standards. What we mean by that is, look, we said we will give you a tax clearance certificate in 2 weeks. If we don't, please complain. Let us know where we are failing, so that way we can address our issues faster. I'd also like to say that we do have challenges with complaining. Sometimes people are scared to complain, but we would like to point out to our taxpayers to say, if you don't complain, we won't know there's something wrong, and we won't be able to make it better. So it's really very, very critical for us to receive your complaints. Nobody's ever victimized for complaining in FIRS. We appreciate your comments. You also have an option to send an email anonymously if you so wish, but we do prefer to get contact details so that we can check with you and get full information on what the issue is and how we can address it. For our contractors, our service providers, we'd like to say, if you're not happy with the way you're treated when you come to FIRS, you need to let us know. We're also there for you. You provide a service to us, but we also have minimum standards for these services to be provided. So we expect that if you're a contractor or you provide services, you should be paid on time. These standards are clearly stated that when you deal with our finance and accounts department or our procurement department, these standards are clearly stated. If at any point in time these standards are breached, please feel free to let us know, and then we'll work with you to address the issues.
Where do you see the tax system in this country 5 years from now?
to be the pivot of national development, taxation must drive the economy. Currently, and the federal government does focus now more on revenues, and so it's very important that FIRS takes the lead in pushing this forward. And I think we are very close to achieving that.
We thank you, Mrs. Shelley, for coming out to the program, and we hope that when next we call on you, you will oblige us. Thank you very much for coming out to the program.